What's up everybody and welcome back to the channel. In this video for the First Descendant, we're going to be talking about the new Abyss boss, the Tormentor, who is in actual fact not that big a deal. So as suspected, based on the footage that we saw before this patch was launched, and just in general the power creep that is happening in the game all the time, it seems that every new Abyss boss that we get is easier than the last one. Now the Tormentor himself I tackled with the good old combination of the last Dagger and of course Gley, which was working really well for us against the Defiler, of course, and is pretty much like really good boss tech in general. And obviously this build just absolutely demolishes this boss. I get a time, an average time, I think the footage that you're watching now is like my third or my fourth run. I did 5 just to kind of like establish a median. On average is about 50 seconds to a kill, and there's a lot that can be improved here. There's a lot of things that I could be doing to make my DPS more. I could be playing better. I could be avoiding some of the mechanics. And in general, there are several upgrades which can also be done to this particular build that I'm going to show you, which will of course crush this time way down. In fact, I'm sure as I'm recording this video, there's somebody that's probably already killing him in less than 10 seconds. I'm looking at you, Sid. But yeah, that's basically the point. I think that there's probably going to be other builds that might also, you know, kind of like excel against this boss. Of course, the boss is weak against, you know, Toxic. So that means that potentially there's a Freyna build in there that could be quite sexy. But the bottom line is the tech that we had in the previous season to this, you know, season 2.1, is still really good and is exceptionally well kitted for taking care of Tormentor and essentially getting those loot drops that you're looking for. Of course, 50 seconds is not as good as the times that we were seeing on Defiler, but again, like I said, it can only improve from here on. The reason why I say it can only improve from here on is like, for example, I don't have any inversion reinforcement unlocked, so we're missing like the additional damage that we can get from like toxic focus rounds, for example, which is another DPS boost for us. And then specifically, let's just quickly run through the build itself. This is exactly the same thing that I was using from a video that I recorded about a week and a half ago. So I'm not going to waste your time by going through all of that again. That video will be linked in the description and you can go back and you can check it if there's specific nuance that you're looking for. I'm not going to rebuild the build from scratch like I always do with my builds. I'm just going to run you through it quickly so you can get to killing the boss as soon as you basically download the patch. So specifically when we are looking at the last Dagger build here, you'll see that mine is kitted in such a way that I can swap elements. This was basically what the premise of my previous video was as well. I wanted to make a Swiss Army knife version of the last Dagger, which I believe I've accomplished. The point here being that all I do is, depending on which element I'm looking to use with the gun, I swap out these two nodes here. So you'll notice electric, I've got electric enhancement and electric priority. Chill, I've got chill enhancement and chill priority. Toxic, I've got, you get the point. Of course, you want the toxic variant of this because Tormentor is weak against toxic. I still need to build the fire variant, so that's 2 more levels that I need to pump into this baby. Other than that, the point of the build is obviously to capitalize on as much damage as possible, as much critical hit damage as possible, and as much weak point damage as possible, while at the same time also building a weapon that ramps through the use of mental focus. I don't think this is a build that is new to anyone. This is kind of like, I would say, probably the cookie cutter source. Again, I said it in my previous video, but I believe that it originates from Vash. And so I believe the testing there was done to see that mental focus is superior to something like SPS or something. And basically, you're just trying to ramp as much fire rate as possible, which now happens to be capped at 2000, but we're still under that. But the point is you try to wrap as much fire rate into this thing, and that basically translates into your damage. So you've got some additional firearm attack coming from here. You've got some additional critical hit damage coming from here. You've got your 2 element slots filled with the element that you're trying to, you know, do damage with. In this case, toxic. We've got fire rate up here. We've got weak point side for more weak point damage. We have aiming for more weak point damage, and then the aforementioned mental focus. So then for the actual like substats and your core rolls on your last Dagger, again, like I said, I was going for the Swiss Army knife version of this. So the point here being that you'll see that I roll firearm critical hit damage. I think generally speaking, if you're trying to specifically focus into an element, that's a good spot to roll an element, or basically the only spot that you can. So there's a potential here that if you're building a last Dagger that is only for killing the Tormentor, right, then you should probably roll like toxic damage in there. or toxic element, right? So then 2 firearm attack rolls and 2 fire rate rolls. Now you can clearly see that my rolls here are by far not the best rolls that you can get. So that's one of the first places where you can juice additional damage out here, which I also intend to do. But then again, killing him in 50 seconds, and then once we get inversion reinforcement, all that stuff, you know, it's probably not that bad. Then in terms of like our substats, firearm critical hit damage, weak point damage, and firearm attack are no-brainers. I have bonus firearm attack versus classes here. The superior roll here is crit hit, since we are using it on Gley, so we don't have any other artificial way of increasing Last Dagger's crit, and we aren't 100% crit stacked with a Last Dagger. We get to about 66 plus, I guess, the 12 that's there. So we're sitting at about, what is that, 78 or something like that. So any additional crit hit we can get is obviously going to translate into more damage for us. But since I couldn't get that to roll on the weapon, and I said that previously, I haven't really tried anymore since, because I'm building a second Last Dagger now. I haven't re-rolled it, so I just kept it on bonus firearm attack versus classes. That's okay. Then specifically the Gley build that I'm using is, again, like I said, my aim here was to build something that was a Swiss Army knife that was equally good at doing void intercept bosses, but also doing purge. And so therefore I want a tanky Gley, and also a Gley that's able to heal from killing mobs and stuff. So there are a couple of, like, for example, modules in here that are not necessarily modules that you would run against a void intercept boss, but nonetheless, you know, you saw the footage and it does the job. Specifically for this Gley build, Predator Instinct is what we're taking as our Transcendent mods. This, of course, also means that you don't have to have Ultimate Gley for this build. Normal Gley is fine. And then we are trying to drive our skill cooldowns as low as possible, and we're trying to make our skills last as long as possible. And that is because we, of course, work on the idea of infinite reload, well, infinite bullets, which means we need increased sensory, which is her third ability, be always available and basically available on cooldown. So you can see my cooldown here is 9.8 seconds and my duration is 10.1 seconds, which means that I can infinitely loop this, and that is how we never run out of bullets, and that is how we basically completely annihilate void intercept bosses. Usual suspects here are things like shot focus and so on, and then of course I do then basically focus on stacking as much cooldown reduction and as much duration as possible. We do this through using maximized duration, nimble fingers, battle of stamina, which gives us a little bit of duration and also a little bit of tankiness. One of the focus mods, in my case I'm using focus on dimension, I use skill extension, and I use MP conversion. All of those together are basically the pie that gets us to this, the cooldown of 9.8 seconds, as well as a duration of 10.1, as well as for our reactor, which we'll look at just now. Last but surely not least, I also just put in shield conversion here. You guys know that Gley does not have a shield bar, so this is just another way for me to make her tankier, and so this gives us more defense as well. So looking at our stats, and if I just move my face over here, you'll see that our stats are pretty decent. We're sitting at 22k defense and 20k HP, which is the reason why I'm able to completely ignore the mechanics of that fucking fight and just walk through all the fucking source, just absolutely, you know, spray painting the boss with bullets and watching him keel over. As mentioned, the reactor here is, it doesn't matter which kind of reactor it is, you can put a fucking toxic reactor in here for all you want. All you're looking for is you're looking for skill cooldown and skill duration up. All right, so once you have those two on gold, and alongside the mods which I showed you, you have your perfect loop, and then you're basically good to go. When it comes to your external components, I went for 2-piece Polar Knight and 2-piece Annihilation. There are a couple of different combinations you can do here to get to my stats that I have here, but the main point is you want to go for as many HP rolls as possible. So for me, 2-piece Annihilation is good because you get the skill duration here as well, which just further on helps. I mean, it's only 5.7%, but hey, 5.7% is 5.7%. And then in the case of Polar Knight, this is giving me additional chill skill power. You have some other options here, like you can use the distorted set, you could use the hunter set. Hunter, of course, gives you more skill cooldown and that sort of thing, but the main point is you just want as many HP rolls as possible, and of course you can accomplish that with this, because as you can see, each one of the external components, its main stat is HP, which means we have 4 HP rolls and then a 5th HP roll on our cigar. So that's the point. 5 HP rolls gives us a nice big chunk of health to work with, and that is why we are so tanky. Now, as I said, just to conclude here, there are a ton of ways that we can make this build a lot better, and a lot better at killing Tormentor or any other void intercept bosses for that matter. We can change to critical hit rate here on our substats. We can improve these fucking cores. We can unlock inversion reinforcement, and we still haven't even unlocked the void arc fucking tree thing with all the nodes that we can pick, you know, which is something new that's in the season. This is literally the first thing that I did as soon as I launched into the game, just to see whether the boss really would be a pushover to this exact combination, and of course they were. So enjoy. Let me know in the comments down below how you are killing the Tormentor, and look out for some additional videos coming as I explore the rest of the content that came with this patch, and we start checking out some of the new ultimate weapons, and of course Serena, which is the new Descendant that came, which I still need to go and unlock as well. Other than that, thanks for the support, and as always, fucking cheers.